Hello, welcome back to another video. It is getting increasingly harder to film because if you've been keeping up with my renovation content, the house is still not quite finished and I'm trying to cover up the mess that is behind me. So I'm going to try and situate myself very awkwardly so you cannot see that, so it doesn't distract from today's video. I've documented my knit and crochet journey for almost 2 years now, meaning I've done a lot of trial and error and therefore also a lot of reflecting. With every year that I'm knitting and crocheting and just crafting in general, I'm learning more and more the kind of things that I like making, the things that I like wearing, and the things that are sort of worthwhile drawing inspiration from. So today I really want to focus on some of these learnings and chat through 5 things that I will not be making in 2025. So whilst this is a bit of a de-influencing video, this isn't meant to discourage people from making any of these things. Especially as a beginner, I really benefited from just making whatever I felt like making at the time. Also, to some of you, some of these points might be really obvious things that you already stick to. However, for me, these are things that I've previously maybe not just prioritized enough, and I've probably learned the hard way what should be avoided. My biggest aim for the year pretty much is to just avoid ending up with loads of whips, and I only really want to end up with finished projects. So in order to reach that goal, here are my 5 things that I'll be avoiding in 2025. Now, before we move on to this, I actually want to talk about one of my 2025 resolutions outside of knitting and crocheting, which is to learn Spanish. And I'm very happy to announce that today's video is actually sponsored by Lingoda. This sponsorship could not have come at a better time. I'm going on a 2-week holiday to Spain in September with all of my family. So I'm hoping by then that I would have picked up a few nice phrases, and then also sort of thinking in the long term. We're hopefully going to go on a longer holiday next year to Argentina to visit my stepmom's family, and that is sort of my main motivation to learn Spanish. We'll be visiting family, and I think it will be really important for me especially to be able to communicate with them in their native language. What is amazing about Lingoda is that every class is human led by highly qualified native speaking teachers who provide a really interactive learning experience. They also keep their classes very small, so there's lots of opportunity to practice out loud. So you can either choose a flex system which can fit around your personal lifestyle, or you can go for a sprint one, which is essentially a 2-month challenge to really accelerate your language learning journey. For me, Lingoda Flex was perfect just because I have a lot going on at the moment with the house, with work. I have had absolutely no routine, but it's been really easy for me to attend the lessons whether I have a free hour in the morning or in the evening or the afternoon. There are classes taught 24/7 every single day of the week, so I always have the option to sign up to one whenever I have some free time. Before each class, they also send out information about it, so you can prepare ahead of your class, make note of any questions you might want to ask your teacher, and afterwards you're provided with self-study materials so you can practice in your own time. Todo el mundo va a la fiesta. Todo el mundo va a la fiesta. Now, if you also want to learn a language, whether that is English, French, German, Italian, or Spanish like me, then you can click the link in my description or use the discount code AVAP for £15 off when you sign up. Thank you again so much for Lingoda for sponsoring, and let's get back to the video. The first thing that I will be avoiding is making anything impractical. 2025 is all about comfort for me. Previously, I found sort of the more basic projects too boring to make, and instead I would just make something way more intricate or just a bit more fun. I'd often also just make things because I like the look of them on other people, but I didn't really necessarily think about whether I'd be comfortable wearing those things. Instead, when choosing to make a project, I really want to focus on how that final piece is going to integrate into my wardrobe. As an example, I made this gorgeous flowery granny square vest, and even though it turned out to be beautiful, even as I was making it, I realized that I would never be able to wear it because what do you wear underneath that? And while some people might have the perfect outfit for it, that has never been something that I have felt comfortable wearing or have ever owned before. And this just goes to show that obviously for beginners, I wouldn't discourage you from making things like this because I learned a lot from it. It was good practice. You know, it turned out to be beautiful as like a piece in itself, but that just isn't really what I want to make anymore. And instead I want to focus on a cardigan or a turtleneck jumper, things that I can wear every single day, things that I can wear to the office when I go to work. So I think instead of looking at what are other people creating, I'm now going to draw a lot more inspiration from just general outfit inspo, and especially things on my Pinterest board, the outfits that I'm inspired by, the outfits that I'm putting together. What am I missing? Can I make it myself? And then I'll just cast that onto my needles. The second thing I'll avoid is anything that doesn't go with my color palette, and instead I want to focus on choosing yarn and colors that complement my skin tone and also obviously complement my wardrobe. Again, as a beginner, I'd get bored so easily, so choosing colorful yarn was just like the most fun way to stay interested in a project. But now I think as I'm more comfortable in my techniques and I want to focus more on like perfecting those techniques, the colorful yarn hasn't been as important anymore. I've made beautiful things before, as I said, with granny squares. I've made these gorgeous maxi dresses in beautiful colors, but none of those colors really felt true to me. They were never things that I again had in my wardrobe previously. And actually towards the end of sort of 2024, thought a lot more about the colours that I think complement me and that I feel comfortable wearing, and I have sort of started implementing this. I made this blue and green striped jumper and I genuinely feel so comfortable wearing it. I've worn it to the office many a times, I wear it around the house, and it kind of sounds like a given, like yeah, you like wearing the things you make, but for me this has always been such a struggle. And the fact that I'm comfortable just wearing it as like a jumper that I would have like otherwise bought from H&M, that really speaks volumes. And it's just because that color scheme I find really complements me. It's also really comfortable to wear, so you know, that goes with my first point. But I think whilst as a beginner, sort of the guidance is don't shy away from color, you know, experiment as much as you can. My advice for myself now as more of an advanced knitter and crocheter is don't shy away from plain colors and basic colors. This raglan cardigan that I made towards the end of 2024, I thought was gonna be like an absolute staple in my wardrobe, but I just haven't enjoyed wearing it. I think it turned out too pale, but also it's just too much going on. Whereas I think that design, that pattern in like a bright red or just one blue tone or a black and white stripe would have been even better and a lot more wearable for me. Then the third thing I'm definitely going to avoid in 2025 is making things for a single use, and instead I want to really focus on wearability. This point very much goes hand in hand with just buying clothes in general, as so many people would buy a new dress for a party or a new top for a party, which I can't lie, I very much still do that. So I need to sort of take inspiration from this and apply it to my shopping habits. But I have previously made things for special occasions. I've made a sort of short black mini dress before for my birthday, which I haven't worn since because I was in such a rush and in such a time pressure that I just made it way too short. Whereas I think if I would have just given myself more time thinking about the wearability of it in the future past my birthday, it just would have turned out to be a lot more wearable on future dates. And I think it is that sort of hyper focus on making something for one certain event that makes you lose sight of the fact that you put so much time and effort into this project that you should probably do it well in order to be able to wear it on a later date. This point also very much aligns with the fourth thing that I'm going to avoid in 2025, which is making things in the wrong size. And instead I'm actually going to be making a gauge before any project. I'm not going to waste any more time on making things that just don't fit me. Making a gauge, making a swatch, taking your measurements is so boring. You kind of just want to get on with your project. However, what I have realized the hard way is that it is actually way more boring to be making an entire project and then having to frog it or even never wear it again because you simply didn't make it to your measurements. So instead, I really want to prioritize knitting or crocheting a gauge swatch beforehand that is fully blocked and fully steamed, and then to confidently do all the right maths to make sure that everything fits correctly. Even if you choose the right project that you feel comfortable in the right colors that complement you and that you can wear every single day, if it doesn't fit, you physically won't be able to wear it comfortably and you probably won't have the motivation to start all over again. So really you've just wasted a load of time. And we are already at the last thing that I'm going to avoid in 2025, and it is to stop sticking to what I know. And instead, I want to learn some new methods. I tend to use the same stitches the same methods and just kind of rejig them in different combinations. But there is so much more out there that I can learn and integrate to really elevate my designs. Once I've done all the previous 4 steps that I've just spoken about, then this is the last step to really help me make my designs new and fresh and exciting for not just me, but for everyone else involved. I've never been super interested in technicalities in general. I actually studied photography at uni, and I was always way less interested in the methods and the technology behind photography than I was in the creative side of things. However, unless you learn sort of the technologies and the methods behind the thing that you're interested in creatively, you are limited creatively as well. Whilst I don't think I'm going to be that person who's going to learn every single knit or crochet stitch or every single stitch combination that is out there, I would like to teach myself a few new techniques which I can then refer back to when I start a new project, and it will just broaden my mind so much more, and it will give me so many more options creatively. And also all the other 4 points that I've mentioned before are kind of making my designs a bit more boring. You know, I want to stick with safe colors, I want to stick with comfortable basic patterns, and that all can be quite boring, I guess. But the one thing that I can then integrate and change up is my stitches, and to just give the pattern a bit more texture. And that's everything that I want to avoid in 2025. It's not like loads, you know, I'm not completely limiting myself. I've been coming back to these 5 points again and again as I've been sort of reflecting on my 2024 projects, but even before that, some of these points have always like propped up every now and again. So it's been really good for me to put them down, and hopefully I'll stick to it in 2025. I've actually started my first big project, which I will share with you in an upcoming video, and I've already been quite good at sticking to these 5 points so far, apart from maybe the 5th one. I still need to look up some fun little stitches that I can teach myself. Yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. I just hit 25,000 subscribers the other day, which is absolutely insane, and I'm so thankful. So thank you to everyone who's subscribed recently. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I will see you next week. Goodbye.